Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about the elections that are being held in five different states. That includes Uttar Pradesh. As we all know, UP has a population which is larger than Pakistan. Then Punjab, Uttarakhand, Manipur and Goa. 403 seats for UP, 117 for Punjab, 70 for Uttarakhand, 60 for Manipur and 40 for Goa. Now, interestingly, again, this election has been won in 4 states with the majority by BJP. But when you talk about Punjab, the victory is for the Aam Aadmi Party. As we all know, they have been in power in Delhi also. But interestingly, now we have some very interesting numbers which tells us, because I've got 2 different ones, with a slight minor changes. When you talk about Punjab, out of 117, 92 they are with the Aam Aadmi Party, 18 with the Congress and 2 with the BJP. And primarily the reason is that the recent issue of the central government with the farmers. And then later on, there was this protest. They were all over for about 8 to 9 months. They were on the roads, and eventually the settlement took place. But still, that affected BJP. Talking about the Punjab, UP, that is the base for the BJP. Yogi Adityanath is the chief minister, hardliner. They won almost 322, this is the number which I have, in 2017, but now they are at 274. Slight reduction, yet the majority is with them. And the Samajwadi Party also 124, and they have gained 72 more as compared to 2017. Now let's talk about Uttarakhand. In Uttarakhand, BJP in fact secured 48 seats. Last time in 2017, they had 57, so the number is reduced. Whereas Congress won 18. In 2017, they had 11, so they have won 7 more. Now let's talk about Manipur. Manipur again, BJP has won 32 seats out of 60, 11 more as compared to 2017. And Congress with total number is 4. Now, this is very interesting. Last time in 2017, they had 28. So, they almost got 24 seats less. So, you can just imagine a major, I would say, victory for the BJP. Now, let's talk about Goa. Goa in BJP has won 27 more than 2017. Congress at 12. Last time they had 120. So, a major decline as far as Congress is concerned, a major pickup as far as BJP is concerned. But talking about Punjab, I think Aam Aadmi Party has done a wonderful job, because in 2017 they only could take 20 seats. This time they have taken 92, 72 more seats. So, that is the most interesting part. Now, to talk about this, let me quickly introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio, on my right is Brigadier Retired Tipu Sultan Sahab, who's a senior analyst. Brigadier Sahab, thank you so much for your time, sir. And we have with us Amir Hussain Sahab, who's a senior columnist. Sir, thank you very much for your time. And we'll also be talking to Mr. Khalique. He's the Secretary General of Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. Sir, no matter what people say, at the end of the day, what we have learned that more women they in fact went to poll their votes as compared to men in India. Interestingly, BJP came out as victorious, sir. Look at the numbers. Despite the fact that Muslims and minorities in general, because we're talking about Punjab, sir, they did not really opted for BJP. Though the numbers have increased, but this is again another very important factor. So this tells us one thing, that minorities are literally scared of BJP, of this Hindutva government. And interestingly, that is the result, perhaps, that in Punjab, let's talk about Punjab for the time, sir, and we'll slowly do dissection of the other states also.
Overall, Faisal Rehman, I will tell you that the opposition to the BJP has not been able to galvanize itself. That is one thing for sure. The other important thing is that the BJP has won across the turf of India. Now, Punjab is next door to us. UP, everybody knows where Uttar Pradesh is. And just next to it on the northern side is Uttarakhand.
Yeah.
They won it. They won it in Manipur, which is next to Myanmar.
Almost extreme
all across Assam and all those places. Chicken Neck, you go around Bangladesh, they won it there. And then they won it in Goa, just next to
You're talking about the east,
where
southeast.
Bipin Rawat has crashed, and everybody knows where Wellington was. So that is the BJP acceptance of politics as of now is across India. Forget that they have reduced their seats in Punjab or UP or in Assam and Goa and etc. But the point is that all these 5 states in which the elections took place, only in Punjab Arvind Kejriwal is going to make a government and not BJP. Everywhere else, the BJP is making the government, including the all important state of Uttar Pradesh. I think the BJP strategy to collect and galvanize Hindu vote on Hindutva in whatever form has paid them over the last 2 elections, and in the next general elections in 2024, I don't really foresee the Congress party coming up and defeating the BJP in that manner. In all probability, the government in New Delhi in 2024 will be of
BJP.
Now, this election that has taken place is going to help the BJP in Rajya Sabha, which is their upper house. So that is the political scenario in which the BJP has been able to sustain itself politically across the turf of India. And remember, in Uttar Pradesh, no party has ever won twice for the last 40 years. It is the BJP who has done it.
Back to back.
Back to back. Like our KP.
Yeah, exactly.
If you perform, you will win and all that. But when you look at it historically, and the events that took place regarding hijab, regarding lynching of Muslims and burning of churches and mosques and all, everything, the BJP is still...
Sikhs were banned from carrying their kirpan.
The Sikhs are banned from carrying the kirpan. And in Punjab, Navjot Singh Sindhu lost a very popular figure. Prakash Singh Badal's party lost. Akali Dal lost. And all those parties which are synonymous to Sikhism have not succeeded in Punjab, and Aam Aadmi
That is
party
very interesting.
would started
Akali
from
Dal for that matter.
Akali Dal of Prakash Singh Badal, and a person who had started from New Delhi as an Aam Aadmi, Arvind Kejriwal, calling the shots. I think he has been able
Sir,
to...
Delhi is so close to, Punjab when you talk about it. So do you think because in Delhi earlier this man got a lot of votes, a lot of seats also?
He won 90 seats, Faisal Rehman. I am telling you that in Punjab, the Punjabi and the Sikhs with the turban, they have not succeeded. I think Aam Aadmi Party has been able to build on what had happened to the Kisan movement in India. So this is how the setting is. And so this is how the international powers will be looking at Modi politically, because they have a market in
Absolutely,
Punjab.
sir.
So this is what these are the factors. On the other hand, I think if BJP has not been able to or will not be able to take out the extremism and lynching of minorities, the time will tell you that with times to come, if the Muslims can galvanize, because the Muslims are minority, all right, but they are in numbers.
Oh yes, indeed.
They are in great numbers. The Sikhs are in numbers in Haryana, in Punjab, across Chandigarh and all that. But right now, BJP,
Interesting times ahead.
BJP right
BJP has won. And
right on.
interestingly, I was listening to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because now they are celebrating in Delhi. Major leaders of BJP, they're all there. So he was talking about the internal challenges, he was talking about the external challenges, he was talking about the Ukraine war, he was talking about the Indian, the Indian government's efforts primarily regarding COVID. So he was really appreciating and hailing. He said that, since the government was under pressure, but we were able to deliver. And perhaps that is the reason people really love us and they've voted for us. But now, sir, you talk about UP. I think most of the money of the center goes to UP because of Yogi Adityanath. He's like a right-hand man. Yeah, and look at his attire. I mean, he's a hardliner. So the cases with Amit Shah and so many of the, I would say, the kitchen cabinet of Modi. Now, sir, UP, Punjab, we have already talked about. Uttarakhand, Aam Aadmi Party could not get a single seat. That is like in the north. Whereas they were pretty good in Punjab. So talking about Congress, few in Goa, and that is it. What has happened to Congress? I mean, I think it's history now.
In Goa, the independents are
More than the
Yeah. Well, I think Congress has not been able to position itself differently as a secular political party. If you look at the farmer movement, in Punjab there was Congress, and the Congress could not position itself to handle the situation, the crisis that was emerging. So the Aam Aadmi Party coming to power indicates that the farmer movement worked well in case of Punjab, because Akali Dal, as you said, that a symbolism of Sikh culture,
Indeed,
and all
sir,
that
always
identity
been.
has gone away. So it means that the farmer movement worked well in Punjab. Even in Uttar Pradesh, if you look at the number game, the BJP has lost as compared to its previous strength somewhere. And Samajwadi Party, which is a socialist party by tradition, a social democratic party, has some significant gains in terms of numbers. So there is some sort of number game as well that's taking place. But we have to remember one thing, that Modi has positioned himself as an insignia of corporate interest in India. So Modi is popular among the middle classes, the middle class that captures Indian media, the middle class that is visible on social media, the middle class that forms the opinion across India. So the Modi with Indianness, the identity of India, and anti-Muslim and anti-minorities, is Hindu supremacist ideological domain, which has benefited the middle class, the saffron identity that is linked with the corporate interest as well. But also, if you look at the Uttar Pradesh, because the Yogi was there, and after the farmer movement crisis, they started to give a lot of welfare, dole out money on welfare. So almost,
major roads were constructed, development programs.
The rations were distributed among the poor, so that also worked. So they know how to handle, they know how to tackle the political scenario. I think the Modi is well versed in terms of positioning himself according to the situation. But also, it is, if you look at the BJP role, it is a political party that capitalize on the tyranny of majority. It's not democracy, it's a tyranny of majority, because it roots itself in the Hindutva philosophy of supreme Indian race of some ancient times. Brahmins and Akhand Bharat and all that, So I think this kind of philosophy, if it is linked with the corporate interest, it becomes a symbol of economic interest of the middle class, but it also doles out money before the election for the poor. So it works well. So I think
electioneering, as we call it.
Electioneering was well at play in these elections.
Now, one thing is for sure, Brigadier Saab, and we have been talking about it in so many shows. The interesting factor is that, whenever we call BJP as an extremist party, yes, it is indeed. I mean, I think the symbol is as we all, I mean, whenever BJP comes in my mind, it's not Advani's, or it's not Modi, or it's not the former Prime Minister who visited Pakistan also. What I'm saying is, sir, exactly, it's the extremist mindset that comes in my mind.
Yeah.
Congress, a political party that is secular, almost vanished. So that means, yeah, Mr. Vajpayee I was talking about earlier. Now, Brigadier Saab, that means that as we always have claimed that India is no more a secular state, these election results actually prove it.
The people who are India watchers and who are concerned with India more than the world, like Pakistan and its neighbors, would view India as a fascist, extremist Hindu state. But India, remember, the Indian people across the world are spread across Google, across Facebook, against all the institutions, financial institutions. There are doctors around, there are opinion makers. They have been able to exploit the Indian economic interest of the world into convincing or seemingly convincing the world powers that they are a secular constitutional state. So, even at the persecution of Christians, the Christian world looks the other side. So, this is how the Indian mafia has been able to project itself as a secular state. Actually, India has never been secular. India has never been non-aligned. India has always, even Qaid-e-Azam, when he decided that he has to go to Muslim League,
Part ways from here.
Form a separate state from Muslims, is known to have said. Abul Kalam Azad, who was a die-hard Indian, and he rose through the ranks of Congress, is known to have said that one thing that you cannot take out of a Hindu is a Hindu extremist fascist mind. This is Abul Kalam Azad saying, who was against Pakistan. Even Shibli Nomani and all these stalwarts that were born in the middle of 19th century to the middle of 20th century, the phenomenal, monumental people, and they all relied in, including the Pakistani politicians like Abdul Nishtar and the other two brothers, Johar brothers and all. So they recognized this. In Gandhi, the BJP is negating one of the greatest heroes known in the world, Gandhi, and that Babu who killed Gandhi with a pistol. The Indian industry have known to have said that if it goes on sale, it will fetch perhaps billions of rupees. So that is the Indian mindset, and they psychologically think themselves that the Muslims have ruled them 800, 900 years. They have been invaders from Afghanistan and from Central Asia, and although they call themselves as Aryans, they have come there, and the Indian nationals are Dalits or untouchables, or the Aborigines like Australians and all that. I think they are not ashamed of themselves by saying that they themselves came from Central Asia and they are big rulers, and the Indian people over there, you have to look down upon them like animals. So I think this concept in which the BJP is framed itself politically,
that has worked.
And successfully too.
Yes.
This concept in which they have framed themselves politically is working for them. But I think it will work for them for some time. It will not work for them for all the time. As in these elections, although the BJP has won across the great geographical expanse of India, but their seats are reducing, and they are further likely to reduce. There are sane voices in India. There are hundreds of PhDs every year.
Oh.
In India, there are writers of books, there are poets, and they are educated people, and they see what the BJP is doing, and where the Indian as a country cohesively is headed to. Arundhati Rai has been writing there, and all those people who are concerned, and academicians and the people with connected with academia and all that. So what I think is that we must see what India is doing also in the context of Pakistan. In the context of Pakistan, India continues to fund terrorism across Pakistan. India continues to change the demography of Kashmir. India continues to tell the FATF that Pakistan must stay in the grey list and possibly black list and all that. And India continues to have its conduits in Afghanistan to fend terrorism across Balochistan and Pakistan. And Pakistan has been doing nothing except presenting dossiers to the UNO and to the international community. If they have not been meaningfully thinking as to, it has to stop at some time. We cannot wait that we will be a great economic power in Asia and the world and only then we will be able to stop terrorism. No. You have to tell these Indians that they can be paid in the same coins. So this is extremely important, and I think the time has come for the leadership in Pakistan to think that we lost a lot of lives in war in Afghanistan.
Oh,
and
yes,
we are
sir.
still losing lot of, we are economically, whenever the cricket team is here, something happens. Whenever some dignitary is visiting, something happens.
This is all by design.
It is all by design.
Yes.
But you see,
we all know who is behind what is happening in Balochistan and elsewhere.
In contrast to that, what happened is that they did Pulwama themselves. Everybody knows that they burned the train themselves. They did the Pathan, then they attacked Balakot. If it was not Imran Khan, Pakistan might as well have kept quiet under Nawaz Sharif, like they did when the Indians downed the Atlantic. It is a bitter, unfortunate fact. It is only Imran Khan who
So
said...
the parliament attack was an inside job of India?
Inside job.
And the Bombay attacks, again, they
And-
have made movies and
and this
documentaries and they have
shameless
blind
person-
Pakistan. I think our marketing is very weak when it comes to
very
defend
weak.
ourselves also.
I'm telling you, and this shameless person called Nawaz Sharif said, what about Bombay attack and all. And when
almost
in
accepted it.
Pakistan, when the armed forces of Pakistan told them that they shot an airplane like Atlantic in our own territory and we must respond, he said you have to keep...
Young cadets were killed and officers
He
were
has
killed.
never taken the name of Kulbhushan Yadav and he is mounting this movement against Imran Khan, who told Indians that don't do it, we will respond. In fact, he said we will not think of retaliating, we will retaliate. And he did. And that is how you should deal with Indians in case of terrorism that they are feigning. And I think we must look for a quid pro quo solution to the Indians. It's high time we did that.
I think we have something in our mind also. Now, Sense up, one thing that worries me, political uncertainty in Pakistan, whether we like it, we don't like it, we admit or we don't. It's a reality. All the opposition put together against the government of Imran Khan, who talks about eliminating corruption, though this man got the government but under very, very hard circumstances, COVID, debt, a strong opposition, and then on top the global geographic issues, regional as well as now international. Whereas when we talk about BJP, not talking about the last election, let's talk about the one before that. They won, and during the next election, they won with a majority. And this particular result also tells us a lot. Yes, I was totally sure about Punjab and a similar result.
The exit polls also shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
But about UP, Uttarakhand, Manipur and Goa, Goa is a very secular state, I would say.
Yeah.
So it has shown those secular results also. But what I'm saying is this is something very alarming, that means that in 2024, we might see the same face again as the Prime Minister, same people around him as advisors. What is that supposed to mean for Pakistan?
Well, I think Congress was the only alternative in India. There were two parties. Now Congress is gone and has gone down, not positioning itself. For Pakistan, it has strong implications, of course. India, the way Modi has conducted his foreign policy, not only with Pakistan but on all international fora, he blamed Pakistan and his team, the Amit Shah and all these people, try to put acquisition everything that is coming from Pakistan. But I think this is unfortunate that we have been unable to, articulate our own diplomatic narrative at the international level, because India will do that. It has been doing all the time. What we are doing actually, how are we responding to the diplomatic onslaught that is coming from India? That is something we have to consider. Imran Khan with all his everything, but I think his team has not been able to put together a strong diplomatic narrative, though he has done well in terms of showing some might against India. But I think there are multiple fronts we have to understand. One front is of course showing some might. The other front is to come up with a very strong and deep diplomacy, whereby you can galvanize international support on many issues that are outstanding with India, where we see that perhaps his team needs to do more deep dives to understand the deep rooted issues, because in terms of
in Pakistan, no matter what happens, honestly speaking, now it's a three-parties system with a couple of small parties in addition, like MQM or JU, IF, or for that matter, a couple of other groups, I would say.
MQMs and all that.
Now the interesting part is that whosoever is going to win will not win with a complete two-third majority.
Absolutely.
It is not possible for PMLN, though it's a huge party, especially in Punjab, or Pakistan People's Party, which is pretty much limited to Sindh, I would say. No matter, they're trying their level best to get into a better position in Punjab, but still, when it comes to Imran Khan's party, PTI, that is the only party that is all over Pakistan in all the provinces, especially in KP
Let me
and
tell you
Punjab
what is said over here. I think if we look at it very objectively, Pakistan's foreign policy was always slewed with the West, who has been always telling Pakistan that you have to oblige and be satisfied what India says. And that is largely what Nawaz Sharif did, but not by not having even a foreign minister and not
He was
even
himself the foreign
not
minister.
even taking the name of Kulbhushan. But Imran Khan has gone miles ahead of everybody. You see, whenever Pakistan wants to have an independent policy, something happens. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto went with a letter in
see what happened,
Rajabazar.
right?
He was eliminated. When they used Ziaul Haq, 730 crashed.
Boom.
When Musharraf was getting out of their hand, they thought they pulled
Bring
the
in
rug
People's
from
Party.
the. So, and Imran Khan, the US president refuses to talk to him. Although Imran Khan is not very fond of talking to the US president, he would like to talk to the Americans as a friend, as he said. But if some individual thinks that way, it is his prerogative what he thinks. I think Imran Khan in the United Nations, Imran Khan in the OIC, Imran Khan to the European Union and the World Economic Forum,
And even during the bilateral visits.
and even the bilateral with Turkey, with Central Asia, has
Russia
gone.
recently.
But where I think we should not traditionally say that Pakistan has not been able to build a diplomatic narrative. Pakistan has been able to build a diplomatic narrative. The fact is that Pakistan diplomatically does not agree what India says and has openly said that they are influencing the FATF, they are fanning terrorism in Pakistan, and they are not letting Afghanistan stabilize and all that. And there was a pain in their stomach deep down when Imran Khan visited Russia. So I think Pakistan diplomatically is looking very different as compared to the olden days of Zardaris and Sharifs and all these people who were there to make money for themselves only. Pakistan, when it's a nuclear state, And Americans are control freak. They want to control Pakistan. But Pakistan, you know, the difference is that the Pakistan Air Force has almost gotten out of the US influence regarding the equipment, regarding everything. You know, they were training our officers. That was more of a goodwill. We are not like other people. Our academies, our training institutions, you know it. You're from a military background, so it was more of a goodwill thing. So Pakistan Air Force is totally independent now, in its tactics, in its superiority, in its intelligence, in its artificial intelligence, in its control of the airspace and all that. And Pakistan Army has its own tank. Navy has its own submarine.
And they're
gone are
always,
the-
you know, very, I would say, this improvement factor in all the three forces.
Gone are
That
days
is a
when
very constant one.
When you had those second-hand, third-class American equipment from the Korean War, which never worked. The tanks never worked, the jeeps never worked, and the trucks never worked. We are modern now, and we are much more ahead of them. So I think they do not have a leverage to really tighten a screw on us anymore. Although we would
won't
want
take that do more.
do more. And Imran, who, you know, no leader has ever said on the television and in a public hearing that you had 400 drone attacks. I remember the first drone attack in North Waziristan where the government of Pakistan, the government of Musharraf said, no, they didn't do it. Or
We did it.
We did it.
That was on a madrasa that killed almost 75 young kids.
Children.
I remember, sir.
I think we should remember that with a lot of shame and a lot of sadness, you know. And here is a man who always said when he was not in power to negotiate and you don't fight over there, don't send the army like that. No drone attacks, he made sure.
And it worked.
And it worked. And they said that would you give us a base here, the Shamsi and all that. He said absolutely not. And we are proud of that. Although some people say that you should not say this or that. Well, the time has come.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. The time has come. We need Imran Khan more. Man.
We need somebody to stand up for the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we should feel proud of that. Absolutely. We should not become a stooge anymore, sir. The
And
way the world
over
is.
here, these diplomats are meeting the judges and the politicians and everybody.
Okay, with
you know,
politicians it makes sense, sir. There's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, you know, when they will
Well, they are free to
come up, we do understand that Pakistan has got a lot of
You
dependency
know,
on the.
there are guests, they are diplomats, they are representing their country, they are free to meet and everybody. But Pakistan now understands.
Yeah, so we
game,
have gone through
you
the
know.
thick and thin. Now, Amir, again coming back to the BJP, because that doesn't only worry me, that makes me think too much.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean for the Pakistani setup, sir, and the system, and as far as our own internal or external problems are concerned? Because we know one thing, that they will keep on creating problems for us in Balochistan. They'll keep on having attacks through the other border on the military checkpoints, earlier the way we witnessed about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
These bombings, unfortunately, you know, I felt, really my heart cries out for all these people who were there praying, and suddenly there was this bomb blast. Children, elderly, middle-aged, all people. I mean, it was, I mean, you can't even imagine that. What I'm saying is that in order to avoid that, now, do you believe that, again, the national security policy should be kept in mind? We need to really beef up our security setup now. More training needs to be given. Like the chief, when he went to Balochistan, he said we want more youngsters to come and be a part of our levies, for that matter. You know, again, the security side. Do you think that is the way forward now? And what sort of threats do you think could be emanating from this side on Pakistan in the future? Because if the continuity in India is there, that means that is
Well,
a
I
problem
think
for us.
we shouldn't bother too much about India. India is always doing what it has done now, what it's doing. But I think one of the most important thing is the introspection. So it is true, rhetorically it is true that Imran Khan has some good diplomatic virtues, but if you look at internally, Pakistan needs economic security. more than strategic security. We have a strong strategic security network and apparatus in place, but to run that you need economic security as well. Pakistan needs economic growth. The economy is on track. The journey starts from one stage to another, growing up and creating fiscal space for open and sovereign policy making. That is very important, and I think that is where we are vulnerable. And that's why the Chief of Army Staff also said that let's move from geostrategy to geoeconomics. The reason is simple, because now we have to understand that Pakistan has to create that space within itself. Now the real vulnerability, if you have good ammunition, you have good tanks, airplanes, fighters and all that, but you can't afford fuel to run those, that is a problem. So that's why we have to understand that we have enough fiscal space, we have enough economic space to engage with international community on our own terms. So this is one thing, good thing is happening, that we are switching from the Western dependence to other larger regional, grand engagements with Russia, with China and other countries. That is important, and this is the way forward. And we have to re-engage ourselves for economic security. That is the primary thing. Secondly, in the region where we are living, we have different neighbors: India, Afghanistan, Iran, China. So we have to see that how to strike a balance. For example, what we can do with Iran, improving the relationship, with Afghanistan more robust and going into larger engagements, and with China we have already done that, and with Russia we are doing. So I think that if we do this regional arc and diplomatic and economic arc, and we are part of that critical arc, then we can push back India.
Okay, talking about, let's talk about the countries which practically surround Pakistan. Raisi's government in Iran,
Yeah,
Modi's government in India,
Taliban
Taliban in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Now this equation for Pakistan, what is that supposed to mean? You said, we should do this. Do what?
No, absolutely. That's why that is where we can see the diplomatic maturity of engagement. How to engage? I mean, the engagement has different rules. Afghanistan is not an isolated country. China is eyeing at Afghanistan. India is also looking at a passage from Afghanistan to Central Asia, and then there are Western countries as well. So where does Pakistan locate itself as a geostrategically important country in the region? So despite having Taliban, despite having Shiite fundamentalist government in Iran, and having a fascist regime in India, Pakistan can position itself as a connecting point to create stability in the region, where China and Pakistan can work together on that. And Pakistan has also this potential, because we know Afghanistan better than India, we know Afghanistan better than China, we have been in Afghanistan for a long time, so that is our advantage. We can use that challenge into opportunity as a nation, knowing better Afghanistan and then leading the role as a diplomatic and economic engagement in the region.
All right.
So I think that is
Now, sir, one quick comment, Brigadier Saab, because at the end of the day, we always say that we need to move towards geoeconomics from geopolitics and strategic point. Yes, makes a lot of sense. So trade with India, though India is a bigger market, is a huge country, and that trade is definitely going to benefit them also. But what I'm saying is that don't you think that we forget about diplomacy, because that isn't working? Trade is one area, because Narendra Modi's supporters primarily, and the financiers, let me put it this way, whether it's Adani, or it's Ambani, or it's Mittal, or it's Tata's, what I'm saying is the corporate India supports Modi, right, sir? So don't you think that trade with India could benefit both the countries? At least something will start, sir.
Well, I will tell you in the same context that the Americans and the Chinese are antagonist countries, and the Chinese have got the maximum trade with Americans.
Yeah.
The Chinese have got the next maximum trade, and at number 2 level in the world is with India.
Yes.
So that should substantiate what you're saying. But we have a situation at hand where the Chinese president would never take China in a direction against India as Modi would take India in a direction against Pakistan. So Pakistan will be well content to deal with Modi for another at least 6 years more, 2 years from now.
So we need to have a proper plan, sir.
From the next, you have to have a proper plan. They are already changing the demography of India. They have not been able to. They have been able to crush the Muslims and Christians and all that. And the minorities have not been able to do anything about Modi. But I tell you, the other thing is that if there was no China in the region, if there was no Chinese influence in South Asia or Asia Pacific, we would have been like Santos, Hito, like 50s and 60s and all that. Those times have gone. And also, the Indians must realize that they have tried their bit to subdue Pakistan. They have not been able to do that.
That's a different story, but and they will keep on trying.
And they will keep on trying. Now relax, have some good relations. Have the talks must begin between
I think
India and Pakistan.
peace is the name of the game at the end of the day.
If you look,
no matter how it is achieved.
if you listen to their media and their ministers, the type of statements, the type of policy they are pursuing.
Sir, I used to take them very seriously, but now I don't. But anyway, Brigadier, I was just told that we are totally running out of time, and the DGISPR is about to start his interaction with the media also. Let's see what is being shared now. But Brigadier Saab, thank you so much for your time, sir. Amir Saab, thank you so much for your time as well. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz.